For a long time, every morning I stepped into my garden with a mix of pride and exhaustion. Pride because I was doing the right thing. Sorting waste, composting, turning the pile regularly, checking the temperature, covering it from rain and sun. Exhaustion because it was honestly a lot of work. Have you ever felt that way? You put in the time, you put in the effort, you follow everything the books tell you to do. But what do you get in return? The soil is still compacted. The plants are still weak. Every time you add compost, there's hope and then disappointment. I remember one afternoon very clearly. My hands still smelled like kitchen scraps. My back hurt from turning the compost pile, and I caught myself thinking, why am I trying to save the soil, but it feels like I'm torturing myself? We're taught that if you want clean, healthy vegetables, you have to compost properly. If you want good soil, you have to make perfect compost. But no one really talks about the price you pay. Fatigue, frustration, and eventually, quitting. And it was from that exhaustion that I asked a very simple question, one that completely changed how I see soil, waste, and gardening itself. When I stopped making compost and started listening to the soil, I used to believe that gardening had to be hard. In my mind, there was one solid rule. If you want good results, you have to work hard. Turn the compost often. Check the temperature. Balance browns and greens perfectly. I did all of it. Every compost bin felt like a serious project. Sometimes I felt more like an engineer than a gardener. After turning the pile, soaked in sweat, I'd tell myself, this is how it's supposed to be. The soil will get better. But something felt off. The harder I worked, the more tired I became. And the soil wasn't really improving. Plants grew slowly. Roots were weak. The soil dried out fast. That's when I started questioning what I once believed was absolutely right. One question that changed everything. One day, completely by chance, I found myself standing in a small forest. No one was turning the soil. No one was checking temperatures. No one was carefully balancing carbon and nitrogen. And yet, the forest was thriving. So I asked myself, does anyone in the forest make compost? No. Does anyone worry about nutrient deficiency? No. And yet, the soil is alive. Trees grow strong. The ecosystem has been running smoothly for hundreds, thousands of years. That's when it hit me. The problem isn't that we don't work hard enough. The problem is that we're working the wrong way. The hidden cost of traditional composting. Traditional composting isn't wrong, but it comes with a cost that few people talk about. When we try to create high heat in a compost pile, we're essentially burning biological energy. Microorganisms explode in activity, generate heat, and then slowly die off when the food runs out. By the time compost is dark and finished, many of those organisms have already completed their life cycle. That's why finished compost looks great, but feels quiet. Plants can absorb nutrients from it, but the soil itself isn't truly alive. It's like feeding plants pre-cooked meals instead of letting them live inside a dynamic, living ecosystem. Soil doesn't need perfection. Soil needs life. Over the years, I realized something very simple. Plants never live alone. Below the surface is an entire community. Roots, bacteria, fungi, worms, nematodes. They communicate and exchange resources every single day. When we only give soil finished compost, we accidentally bypass that entire system. It's like building a city where food is delivered, but there are no jobs, no infrastructure, no connections. Soil doesn't need to look pretty. Soil needs to be alive. Feeding the soil directly, surface feeding. That's when I changed everything. I stopped making compost separately. Instead, I started feeding the soil right where the roots live. Dry leaves, straw, cardboard, laid gently on the soil surface like a blanket. Light moisture, no digging, no disturbance. Kitchen scraps and fresh greens go on top, little by little. Greens provide quick energy. Browns feed fungi, retain moisture, and build structure. The soil eats every day. No waiting months, no turning piles. And the magic? The soil starts doing the work on its own. The underground internet. There's something underground that most people never think about: the fungal network, mycelium. It's like a biological internet. Fungi connect plant roots, move nutrients in water, and even send warning signals. When we dig and turn the soil, we cut those cables. Feeding from the surface, without disturbance, protects this biological infrastructure. Worms and microbes pull food down exactly where it's needed, at exactly the right time. They work for free, day and night, never tired. Perfect for pots and small spaces. In containers and raised beds, this method is even more powerful. Soil stays moist longer, temperature stays stable, microorganisms have shelter. Here's one lazy trick I love. When harvesting, don't pull the plant out. Cut it at the base and leave the roots in the soil. Those roots become organic matter. They create air channels. They feed the next generation of plants. Lazy gardening, systems thinking. AI doesn't replace humans, it optimizes systems. Lazy gardening works the same way. It's not neglect. It's letting the system do what it does best. When the system is right, you rest. The soil works. The plants thrive. Final philosophy: I no longer aim to produce compost. My goal is to create living soil. When soil is alive, it feeds plants on its own. It regenerates. It runs itself, day after day. After all these years, I've learned one important thing. Gardening shouldn't be a competition of who works harder. It should be a relationship between people and the land. When you stop trying to control the soil and start supporting it the right way, everything changes. Kitchen waste stops being a problem to deal with. Dry leaves stop being trash. Soil is no longer something to save, but a living ecosystem waiting to be fed. You'll work less and harvest more. Less exhaustion, healthier gardens, less worry, more stability day by day. If there's one thing I hope you remember from this video, it's this. The goal is not perfect compost. The goal is living, sustainable soil. If this approach helps you see gardening as lighter, smarter, and more natural, stay with me. Subscribe to the Compost channel, and let's learn together how to live greener, slower, and allow nature to do what it has done best for millions of years.